right, good morning and welcome back to hour number 2. And before we dive in, we had Croc Encounters on for the last show. They are right off at 301 in Tampa. And their address is 8703 Bowles Road. If you're driving, don't try to write that down. Just call or text and be happy to send you the link.
Don't text. You just, if you're driving, call.
Yeah,
Do not text.
813.
Call,
yeah.
don't text.
Use your voice to dial 813-377-2775. We'll send you over the link. 813-377-2775. And by the way,
Why don't you actually save that number as a favorite in your phone right
Yes.
now for everybody listening? That way, if you ever have any questions, it's sitting right there.
it's call or text.
First thing that
You can
pops
say,
up.
Call Katrina or call Tampa Home Talk.
I want to go to Croc Encounters. They got excellent reviews online.
Yeah, 445 5-star reviews. Did you see that? They're like,
No, I think it's 4.9.
oh, 4.9. That's really
4.9.
good. I mean, they've got almost 500 reviews.
That's awesome. I want to check this place out.
Have you guys ever been there? We have some guests in the studio. No? No. Okay. So, I will, yes. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest. So this show right now, this next hour, is going to be 13 tips to help your home show like a model. And so I thought it would be so cool if I invited not only one of our current clients, like we're in the middle of selling their home right now, into the studio, but also we met because you listened to Tampa Home Talk.
That's correct.
So welcome, by the way, and thanks for coming in. Yeah, I did. Okay, go ahead and keep chatting here with Pat, and let's pull your mic in a little. There you go.
Okay. How about this?
Yes. So not everybody will agree, by the way, to come in and be on the air. So thank you.
We're crazy.
And she's joined by her husband, but he's agreed to hang out and listen. He doesn't. He's my Chris. He doesn't want to talk. So we're not going to make him.
No.
We're just going to let him have fun. So this next hour is a little bit of a sneak peek on the 13 things you can do to help your home sell like a model. And so, Patty, we met, originally? I think it was last year.
We met in January, but I've been a listener longer than that.
Okay. So the point is, what I want to convey is we just listed your property last Friday.
Yes.
It went live. Your property is the one we had 29 offers on. And it took some time to get there, right? There was a whole lot of preparation and planning. So you're talking about 6 months that we together jointly prepared to get to last Friday.
Well, yeah, when you first came over, you went through the whole house and gave me a laundry list of things I needed to fix or do.
So we call the room by room reviews. We've
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah, and I took note of everything and actually fixed or corrected everything that you said.
So can I mention what your former profession was? Would that be okay with
that's
you?
fine.
Okay. So what I love about our police officers, and Patty was a cop for a long time.
25 years.
Yeah. Our cops, man, they follow instructions to a T. And so I'm not kidding. Seriously, every time I have a cop, they just always do what they're supposed to do. You know, they're rule followers. They do what they're supposed to do, and as a result, the sale is always easier for them.
Yeah, well, and my husband's retired Air Force, so you
Yes.
have two rule
I was about
followers.
to say, former military, I feel like is
The military
They pick
law
up the phone.
enforcement.
They respond to email.
Yes. So, how long has it been since you sold a home? Or have you ever? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, I have in 1996.
So it's been many years since you
Yes.
sold a home.
Yes.
So what were your expectations going into this, even before we met? What were your expectations?
Oh, I wanted somebody to guide me because I wasn't sure what I needed to do to get the house ready. And, somebody who would put a list out and tell me what to do because I didn't know.
And you guys lived in your home for how long?
13 years.
Okay. And so the biggest reservation that I get when people want to call me to come see their home is they're like, oh, I'm not ready. My house is not perfect. I'm not ready. And nobody's house is ever ready for me, ever.
No,
Everyone's stuff is out. That's part of what we do.
Well, it was a hot mess, but I wanted you to see it. And so,
Yeah,
to be honest,
I can see past all of that. So none of that. I literally had a call with a lady yesterday that's like, no, everything has to be in its place. And I've got all this stuff out and I'm going through photos and I'm like, okay, it's up to you. I'll come now or in a month. But I see past all that stuff. It's my job to get it all perfect. And so what was your experience so far, with our team and during the preparation process and so far, what was your experience?
Oh, it was wonderful. Well, first when you came over, I had to control myself. I wanted to follow you around room by room, but I didn't. I did.
You can relate to that, right, Leo? Your inspectors or the people like to follow the inspectors a lot.
Definitely.
I controlled myself, and so that was wonderful. And when you came over, I kind of felt better. I mean, I was like, okay, now I have a list of things I need to do. And, you were kind of assuring to me, okay, get all this stuff done. And when we list your property in July, I see good things.
And so how did it make you feel to know that we had a target date and we had a plan and you could kind of work on this in your own pace because you guys had other stuff going on?
Oh, we did. But it was funny because, we had talked and like things I did was get the roof replaced. I had time then to, figure out who I was going to get and how, save the money to actually pay for the roof. And so, but the thing that was nice is I can't make a decision to save my life. I mean, it's strange but true. In my personal life, I can't. And, getting advice from your team of, what do you think about the color of the roof? You didn't tell me what to pick, but darker than that, than the walls or things like that. Little tips that I kind of needed along the way was really nice.
And it's interesting, the way people see their own space is a little bit different than the way we make everyone else see your space. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Your husband's like shaking his head, waving. And he personally didn't like the home, right? He just said you liked it, but not so much him.
Yeah. We moved at the height of the market, so that's what we could afford at the time. And it wasn't as large as he wanted. And I mean, the neighborhood, I loved it. I mean, was the draw. I mean, but the house wasn't exactly what we needed. And, we both looked at it like, oh, okay, who's going to really want this house? Because we didn't love it today.
So what do you think about it? And, Kim has been on the air with us. So she came out, she staged your property. We had our amazing team of photographers come in and photograph it. What do you think of your home now? Because you're totally moved out of it.
Yes.
We moved in and staged it and made it all look amazing. What do you think about it now?
Oh, I would buy it. Which is strange.
That's okay. When you say, oh my gosh, I love my house, I never knew it could look so good. That's how we know we did our job.
And we wondered all along, we should have, the maintenance and the upkeep, I strongly encourage anyone to start looking at their house now. And, what do I need to fix or do? Because deferred maintenance is horrible. Because then you have all this time that you have to, we had 6 months, 7 months to get it ready. But, that's still a short period of time for things that you haven't done for 13 years.
And Leo, you can attest to that, right? Like someone's been in their home for 13 years. There's a little bit of deferred maintenance,
Yeah, I mean, the longer someone has lived in a home, the more likely we're going to find outlets that have been taped over, light switches in permanent positions, light bulbs that don't work. It's just windows that don't open. It's just you learn to live with things.
So we're going to run through these 13 tips to help your home show like a model. I will give you my tip that I put in the book, and then I would love it if you would just bounce off of that and share your experience since it's so fresh in your mind and you guys just lived this, like literally we're still in it. I would love to know just your thought and your experience and your words, on the other side of it. And so the number one tip on mine is curb appeal. So you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So you want to make sure you give the buyer every reason to come inside your home and not skip it based on the outside. So I've seen many buyers not even get out of their home and they don't like the outside appearance. And so I will tell you, Mike Fasano, friend of the show, right? We just sold his home. We sold it so fast, we didn't even have a chance to mark it out on the air. And one of the properties we were looking at when he was ready to buy, and because we were looking at other ones, he didn't even get out of the car. So this is what I'm talking about, where you don't get that second chance to make a first impression. The outside has to look amazing. And I know you guys had a little bit of banter about that. So talk about curb appeal. How important do you think that is?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, to look at our house now, it's gorgeous. And we fixed the driveway, so it's beautiful. The grass we've had completely replaced, resodded, so it's nice. Took care of pretty much everything: new plants, new mulch, new everything. Painted the entire house and put a new roof on.
Yeah.
So I mean, thank you.
We're gonna get there. So the curb appeal is a really thing, and the front yard. You guys spent a lot of time there. How much time did you spend getting your curb appeal in the front ready?
It was a month and a half probably of getting everything just right.
And let me tell you, your driveway is a selling feature of that home. How many cars have you parked in there?
Oh well, you could probably put 10 easily in the driveway.
It's a selling feature of your home. All right. This is Tampa Home Talk. We are here today with Patty and Ernest. We'll be back in just a moment. Right after this break, we're going to talk about 13 tips to help your home show like a model. If you want some information or you'd like me to come do this for you, when Patty shares her story, 813-377-2775. Again, call or text, or if you want my tips, I'll text them to you. 813-377-2775. We'll be back in just a moment. Stick around.
Well, good morning. Welcome back. This is Leo Kane with Barrel Engineering and Inspection. We're here to talk about the footnote of Katrina's book with the 13 different methods to sell your home like a model.
I better be more than a footnote or 2 pages stuck together.
you're-
in that
Well,
book.
let me
Two-page
know if
tip
you
of the
want to
week.
add your insurance tip or your inspections tip. There's still time to put it in. It's in copy editing right now, but yeah, we'll do it. All right. Tip number 2 is the entryway. So make sure you have that wow factor from the moment that your buyer walks into the home. Their eyes should have the intentional point of focus, and it should flow naturally. And so this wow factor really gets them excited to see the rest of the home. And so what I mean by this is the curb appeal makes them want to come in. When they first walk in there should be a little bit of a wow factor that makes them want to explore more. So you guys have went back to your home through the front door since it's been staged. What do you think?
Oh, it looks really good.
Do you have, where do you happen to remember?
What's the feature that we're looking for if we walk in?
Well, it depends. I mean, there's usually.
Well, I'm saying for their house.
What did you notice when you walked in?
The living area. When you walk in, and just to the left, they have a nice seating area. Where to the right, then would be a TV. So I mean, it looks very comfortable. It looks very homey. It looks very, like you'd want to live there.
Yeah. So immediately you had the wow factor that was like that comfortable invitation, warm type feeling. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So number 3, every room should have a plan. So we know about
plant?
this, right? A plan.
I love every room should have a plant. My wife does that all the time. Little house plants, little
Plan. PLAN.
not with a T.
No. It might have some plants too, but definitely a plan. So we will go room by room, literally room by room, and do a review. And some of the things we are looking at is, do we need to paint? Are we packing and purging and donating some items in that room that we need to do over the next few months? Do it now. Don't wait. It makes your move so much easier. What do you think about that?
Oh, 100%. We painted the entire house, so inside and out. So, but yeah, we're not hoarders, but had a lot of junk.
Everybody has a lot of stuff.
And
that's the thing. Like, I don't want you to feel like, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff. I will tell you 8 out of 10 properties I go in have too much stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Really. I mean, it's very few times, like Mike Fasana was one of those. We didn't even have to stage his home. It was just perfect. But he's
I
a
believe
single
that.
guy. He's very matter of fact. He lives with Seaver, his dog, and, there's nobody to mess it up. Where you guys have kids, it's lived in, you work, you go to school, there's a lot of layers going on. And so most people's home is just, it's not ready. And so tip number 4 is kitchen and eating spaces matter most. So kitchens absolutely help sell your home. And so making sure that there's no visible countertop clutter. Everything is basically is designated and appealing. Like there's a designated appealing eating space, right? So you don't have to wonder where you're going to eat. And if you're living in the home, you want to make sure it's free from any odors, like including food odors.
I think we're missing an opportunity here to turn each of these 13 tips into some kind of acronym that's a word that can be a catchy mnemonic to remember. I'm being serious.
All right, shoot. What am I supposed to be adding? What do you
I don't know. When you said kitchen and eating spaces matter most, that kind of got me thinking of like, maybe there's a way to put it in a way that it actually is a word and it's an acronym. It's easy to remember.
So what do you got?
I got nothing at the moment.
He wants final edit rights.
I'm just saying that
he's only going to spend
that's
30
what a lot of
seconds reading
people
anyway.
do with tips like this to make them catchy, to make them memorable. It could make you a bestseller at that point.
Okay, so what do I need to change, Mr. Leo, that reads a book in 90 seconds?
I'm just saying that instead of kitchen and eating spaces matter most, is there a way you can make that is there a way you can take the first letter of each of these words, make a phrase or word out of that?
So let's see, KAESMP.
But you can move words around. You can use different words. It's just something that I'm going to be thinking about for the next 30 minutes to come up with one of these 13 into something like that.
That's 10 times longer than he's going to spend reading your book. So
I know.
I mean,
Thank you
here,
for that,
number
yes.
10, number 10's an easy one.
Stop jumping ahead.
Number 10 is an easy one to turn that into.
All right. So, what do you think about the kitchen and the designating eating spaces?
Oh, that was huge. I mean, she staged we had a little table in the kitchen area, so she staged it for eating, which we did.
Like a
That's-
little eat-in nook?
Yes, yeah. And obviously we moved out, so everything was clear. So, but prior to
helps.
that, I mean, the counter had everything on it. I mean,
It does. I mean, when I came through and took my initial photos, there was stuff in there, but it's not for display. It's to help the stager see what the space looks like, figure out what she needs, and be prepared to stage her home. So it really saves her a trip.
yeah.
That makes sense. All right, number 5 is living rooms. So we already touched on this a little bit, but it's can the potential buyer see themselves living here in this space? Or is your living room cluttered with family photos, knickknacks, that sort of stuff? So we want to minimize all the clutter and the personal items that gives the buyer a clue as to who lives here. So I mentioned this because the mind naturally has a subconscious way of, looking around to try to figure out who lives here, where you went to college, and that sort of stuff. So we basically want them to focus on the features and benefits of your home, not who lives there. And people can't help it. They are curious by nature. If you leave any family photo or any inclination of who you are, they will look at it and try to figure out who lives here.
I would do that.
You would absolutely do that, especially being in law enforcement.
Yeah.
You would. Like, she already knew probably more about our buyer before we even went over the offer than I could tell her, being in the industry, because it's nature, right? It's your human.
I did. I can't lie.
So, I mean, but that's the point. And so when I went into your living room initially, there were family photos, there were books, there were a lot of extra things that are not there now. Right. And that's, normal people would have those, but when we're prepping the home for sale, it's just that shift.
Yeah,
Right.
well, we were fortunate because we had moved out before,
Yes.
but it would have been a struggle, I think, maybe to get all the personal stuff down.
For some people, but you'd be surprised. We do help people figure that out that don't have the opportunity to move into another place. Number 6 is your bathroom should sparkle like a star. So making sure your bathrooms are sparkling clean. When I share these tips, I share it because these are real life experiences that we have lived and encountered. So what I put in here is there shouldn't be remnants of men's shavings or trash lingering, as well as any wet morning towels, that sort of stuff. All these things are uber important to the prospective buyer. And so especially as you move up in price, like on the upper end, I mean, I had one that was about a $750,000 home, and the owner was in a rush to get out that day shaving. There was remnants in the sink, turned off the potential buyer like that. And they're not a dime a dozen, they're not going to get 29 offers on their home because it's the upper end of the price point. So, in that particular scenario and in a different market, you might not be able to afford to lose that prospective buyer that walks to the house.
Yeah. Well, when I had scrubbed everything and everything was sparkly, my 18-year-old wanted to go in and use the bathroom.
You're like, no.
Exactly. So, do not go in there.
You're like, no, we've moved out. I'm not coming back in. All right, number 7, big, beautiful bedrooms. So we want to make sure there's a little bit of a zen-like space in the bedroom. Should be cozy, inviting, not leaving any extra stuff out. We got to figure out what needs to be pre-packed, eliminated, tucked away. Less is more. So if you have too much stuff in one room, or if your furniture is so big that it looks like it barely fits, subconsciously you're telling the buyer that the room is not big enough.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Because we've got staged furniture in there now.
Oh, it looks wonderful. I mean, it looks, and it's appropriately sized, and the quantity is right.
Did you feel like your room was too small when you lived in it?
Oh, it was, yes.
Okay.
Well, I felt the whole house was too small because we have big furniture, and the house was small. So yeah, but the biggest change was the master bedroom. The size of the bed is appropriate now for the room, and it makes it feel spacious.
So you guys had a king in there?
We had a queen.
Queen. And I think we have a full?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you can fit a queen, but it's just the visual appeal and the way the room looks.
Somebody's not going to walk in and immediately go, "Oh, we can't fit our stuff in here."
Yeah.
Everybody does that,
Right. So number 8 is a big one. It's clutter-free functional office spaces, because so many people are working remotely that right now this is really, really important. So in today's age of the remote or at-home workers, they're everywhere. And so workspaces, and by the way, I think that's going to continue. But the workspaces in the home are more important than even formal dining rooms to buyer. And so we got to make sure that they are free from papers, files, any type of clutter out, and that they appear organized and functional. And, after all, your next buyer, they could be spending 40 or more hours of their week in that room if they're working from home. So having that clear, defined, functional office space that's clutter-free is really important, especially if some folks actually work from home. So, you could walk into my office and it looks like a paper bomb went off. So, that's how I function in my office. I just have a lot of stuff going on all the time. It's just the way that it is. But when you sell your home, it's got to be a little different. So, and then tip number 9, we talked about this last week, but that's the laundry spaces. If you remember some of the things that Kim talked about, like shoving stuff in the dryer and that sort of stuff, making sure that detergents, cleaners, all these extra stuff are packed away, purged, not put out, no residue, stains. Off your number.
813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. If you want this list emailed to you, go ahead and text the word list to 813-377-2775.
We'll include one free insurance tip with that.
Back in there.
Well, good morning. Welcome back. This is Leo Kane with Tampa Home Talk. And this next, we're on number 10?
10.
10. And number 10 is what I was talking about earlier. This one can easily be turned into a mnemonic. We're going to call this one RAP. Remove all personal photos. Isn't that easier to remember? If I say RAP and you're like, yeah, I got to get rid of all my personal photos.
All right, you got some homework there, Leo.
So if your photos are up, the buyer will feel, didn't we just talk about RAP though?
Not really. We talked about the living room space because that's where most of the time the photos are.
Yeah, but we talked about RAP in that process where the personal photos make the buyers try and figure out who the seller was and try and figure out the secrets of what skeletons might be in the closet.
So you should hang up photos of other people's families.
Oh,
No.
Yes, that would be confusing. Just have the random frames with the random people in them.
No. So I do touch on wonder why people live here, right? Because they do wonder who is there.
I like it when I'm inspecting people's homes and I see the diploma and I see the photo or the army or Marine portrait.
You got it. Yeah.
And you go right, your eyes go right to that.
Oh, yeah, and I try and figure it out. And now I'm daydreaming about how this person helped save America from terrorism and graduated first in his class.
And now you're not inspecting the house.
And then I forget that I'm supposed to be...
And then we wonder why they have a cat door.
Oh, yeah. Then I start looking for, in those houses, I start looking for that button you push, and then the bookcase opens up, and it's just a wall mount of rack of guns.
So remove personal photos. Now, the other thing about having your photos up, when buyers are coming through, and this is why we ask you guys to vacate for the showings, if you're living there, of course, right? Which wasn't your case. But when you have your personal photos up and you guys are around, the buyers will feel subconsciously like they are in your home, not their prospective new home. So experience shows they are less likely to open cabinet doors, to look in closets, to do the things they would naturally want to do if they were hanging out, spending more time in your home, which is what we want them to do when they're looking to buy it. So number 11 is personal items.
PI.
Yep. So personal items. Now, I talk about this as a must, and I share this very openly with people when I tell them that, this goes hand in hand with removing the personal photos and the items.
Pie goes good with wrap.
Got it.
Wrap up your pie. There
And you need to maintain a B3, which is a big, beautiful bedroom. See? These are going to be easier
Okay,
to
we'll get
remember.
there. Yeah, okay, I'll write it down as we go.
B3, wrap, in PI.
Got it. Okay. So the personal items, what I tell people about this is when someone comes through your home, they should not know the race, the gender, religious preferences, what college you went to. They shouldn't know any of those things by walking through your home. And if you have those things up and people are looking at that, then they start looking at the photos and they go, well, I wonder why these people are moving, and now they're doing what they're not supposed to be doing in your home, which is wondering who the seller is. And people like you, Patty, you can't help it. You're just going to do it. And it's human nature. And so we want you guys to remove all those personal items so they don't know who lives there.
Oh, if I toured a house and it had anything, I would definitely try to figure out who it was.
Yeah. And it's human nature. Most people, even without a law enforcement background, they're going to naturally do that. And so number 12 is pre-packed.
No.
everything.
Just call it
What?
its proper name.
Okay, what is it?
We have wrap, PI, and what would this one be?
Pep.
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 PEP. Make sure you use PEP. You have to pre-pack everything possible.
I'll run this past my publisher and see what they think.
Okay, and it's kind of hard to say pre-pack everything possible because that's a lot of P's, and P's on radio means that we're spitting all over the place.
Yeah, okay.
It's
thank
very
you for that.
non-COVID friendly.
Yeah, P is not a very COVID-friendly letter, but yeah, so we have wrap, PI, and PEP.
Okay, so what I say, the general rule of thumb, if you're living in your home and you need to get prepared and still have showings while you're there, if you don't need it in the next 2 or 3 months, pre-pack it, donate it, sell it. Minimal. So less is more. If you've ever stayed at an Airbnb, we are going for that same look, same experience. Everything is there you need, but there's nothing extra.
And these kind of go together. If you started with PEP and then moved into wrap and then ended with PI, they kind of all flow together. You want to pre-pack everything possible to remove all your personal photos and get rid of your personal items. Those 3 items all go together.
And now
So-
I'm hungry.
So you have the PEP, wrap, PI trio.
Usually that's for Pat.
Would you recommend if people couldn't move out of their house, would you recommend they maybe get like a storage unit or something?
Yes. Many times people will either get a pod and load it and then have it taken away.
What does
Or-
POD stand for?
Portable on-demand storage.
See?
And
So-
that's probably the preferred, right? Because then they can just have that delivered to the new
Yes,
residence.
it is
time
because they don't
comes.
have to unload and reload, if you can think about that. But it's more expensive than even hiring our movers to, where you're doing a little, like in Patty and Ernest's case, most of the time people are doing it a little bit at a time. There's some people that are like, oh yeah, I want to do it now. So we might have Air Force, right? That's getting relocated and they go, I've got orders to move this date and we've got to move quick. And they're used to moving all the time. So they're usually pretty easy. But most people are going to have quite a bit of stuff and it's going to be a process and a plan over time to get them moved in. Or moved out. So if you don't need it over the next 2 or 3 months, pack it, purge it, donate it, get rid of it, whatever you're going to do. And so number 13, and this is probably right on time for you, but it's securing any and all of your valuables.
Savvy. We need to put a Y somehow after that because we can turn that into the word savvy. So secure any and all valuables, but we add a Y to it. Now we've got savvy. And now we're continuing the word mnemonic thing. Makes it easy to remember.
So what I say about this, and certainly chime on this, Patty, as a police officer, you probably can have way more to share than I can. But what we tell people is you don't want to have any stashed cash. You don't want to have any jewelry out, anything accessible. Guns, my police officers are the worst. They're notorious for leaving them on the nightstand. We got to say you can't do that when your house is on the market. Bank statements, credit cards, those statements, passports, prescription medications, and more. So the idea is if someone's alone in the home for 1 minute or less, right? Anything of value they could easily see or find or grab, and they will send the realtor to another room to check something or go get something or I forgot about this. It can happen. So we tell people, remove any of this temptation or anything sticking, around. I'm sure you've seen this.
I have a question. You want to go first?
Secure any and all
Okay.
valuables yourself. Savvy.
Savvy. Love that.
Yeah, we don't want to be moving your guns or your cash.
So this is while we're on the guns and cash topic. I know this was not an issue for your house, but when you go to do like your initial kind of walkthrough, have you ever what's the strangest thing you've seen? Like I feel like people probably are just leave drugs and stuff out if that's the case.
Oh yeah, I mean I've seen everything. There was a home in St. Pete actually that I showed, and
Not theirs.
no, my buyer had been through it before and it was empty, and so there's some stuff you can share on, I'm sure, but you can have to formally evict squatters, I guess is what I'm saying. But anyway, there was nobody there. And then all of a sudden there's like these Toy Story sheets hanging on the windows. And I could tell there was somebody in the home. I could tell. I've just been doing it for a long time. I conceal carry. A lot of times if I'm out, I will conceal carry. And so I was carrying that day. My clients didn't even know. But, I'm not going to put myself in a home where I'm a female by myself in there. And those guys that I was with, they would not have protected me. So it would have been all, I'm just telling you, they would not have. And so when I went up to the door, I'm like, something told me that wasn't right. And the buyer said, yeah, those weren't there. So the first thing I do is I go up and I do the police knock. I do the boom, 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 the really loud knock. And whoever was in there did shoo out the back. They did. And then I called the guy that owned the property, which happened to be an investor that was flipping it. Said, hey, I think somebody's squatting in your home. And we went in, and yes, there was residue of cocaine and different things on the table, lines where they were cutting whatever. And, clearly indication of people living there, things in the fridge, that sort of stuff. Backpack, speakers, like little stuff like that.
Cocaine and Toy Story sheets. I love it.
That happens more often than you'd think.
It does.
Wow.
So what are some stories? Is there anything you remember about these things I'm talking about where it's a home that's being listed for sale? There's things that were left out or easily accessible, and now you guys are writing a police report about it.
Well, they do, and it's hard to when you have. Well, we had 70 showings on the house. How do you prove who did it? So that's that. Well, exactly.
So-
That's the problem. So your chances of you figuring out who took your stuff is probably zero.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Even if you guys had lived in your property, you moved out so you didn't. But even if you did, and we can tell to the minute when an agent accesses that box because they're open it with their super key, tells us roughly how long they're inside and all that stuff. Even so, if you guys lived there, you would have been gone the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Because we had nonstop showings. Like you said, I don't even know how many showings.
70.
70 showings.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's 70 showings, but then how many people per showing? So you have, a ton of people through the house. That's if we had lived there, we would have been gone, but all of our possessions would have been we were friends with every neighbor on the street,
Right.
so it would have been at a neighbor's house. So, and
What does your neighbors say about all the traffic?
Oh, they
'Cause
said
we
it was
probably brought
insane.
so
They're
much
probably
traffic to the
excited. They're
street.
like, I could sell my house too, right?
So what do they say? They're like, oh my gosh, what is your realtor doing?
Well, they were texting me saying, "Well, you won't believe how many people have been at your house."
Like, okay, that's good. that's kind of what we were searching for here.
Tip number 14 during COVID: hire a cleaner to come in after and wipe it
Do the
all
sanitation
down.
fog.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So, is there any stories that you remember or anything where you had any of this stuff missing? Passports or guns or
We've had
prescription
believe
meds?
it, prescription meds are a huge thing. People don't remember it. They leave it. Everybody leaves their prescription meds either in the kitchen by the refrigerator or in the bathroom in the medicine cabinet. I mean, that's the two places to go. So, missing frequently.
I think it's funny too, because I feel like with prescription stuff, they all have just crazy names. So you might be getting something that's not even. Why would you wouldn't even want to steal,
know
right?
those,
What's it
don't
gonna
they?
do?
But they're smart.
The ones that
because-
steal know, don't
yeah,
they?
but you
Maybe.
can Google anything.
That's true.
So I mean, you can figure it out.
I guess.
That's true. You could describe what the pill looks like without a label and tell what it is.
That's true.
Because they have numbers and different things on them.
And the funny thing is, if it's a prescription, like if it's a pain pill that you had surgery, you have pain pills in there, you may not be looking, you don't look at it every single day. But when you go to get it, then you're like, oh, it's not here. Well, where could it be?
Or I had 10 pills and now I have 5 pills, right?
So what's your take on this on insurance? Have you ever had anything missing from a listed home or an open house or people making insurance
we
claim?
haven't gotten any theft claims on anything like that. Now, I'll tell you just as a tip for people that are moving or you're going to put your stuff in a pod or anything else like that, generally speaking, you get up to 10% of your contents limit for things that aren't for things outside of your house. So if it's in a pod or a storage unit or something like that, you do have some coverage that extends. So don't worry about it if it's in transition. You do have some coverage there.
All right, this is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, here with my favorite sidekicks and our special guest for the show, Patty and Ernest. Thanks, you guys, for joining. We'll be back for our final segment to just kind of chime in and generally talk about your experience and what you guys thought and what you would tell others. We got 10 people listening, according to Ernest. So
Well, 8 because they're here.
Oh, that's right. So, well, no, he's not 1, so 9. So we'll tell the other 9 listening what you have to say about myself and my team. We'll be back in just a minute. Stick around.
And welcome back to Tampa Home Talk. This is Adam Talley with Talley Insurance. We're going to do our insurance tip of the week. And number 1 tip, and this is for everybody. I don't care where you are. If you own property, it's very, very important. Make sure you find that insurance policy and you've reviewed it, because we are in full-blown hurricane season. How many are out there right now? Like 4 or 5?
We've got 2 storms out there, and we've got a third yellow X brewing off the Sahara.
There we go.
And that Sahara dust dissipated like we said it would last week, and that's when all the storms start coming back up. We've had an unusually hot summer, which means we're going to have a really intense season coming up.
Yeah, it's and Leo and Aaron cannot help you if you don't already have insurance. So make sure that you find that policy, make sure it's active, review your coverages, review your hurricane deductible, because it's 2% of your dwelling limit in most cases, and depending on the size of your house, that could be a lot of money out of pocket that you don't have. So always review everything, and that would be my number 1 tip. Also, figure out the claims phone number, because if we do get a hurricane, you're going to want to make sure you call to get there.
I would feel like if I get the claims number, I'm going to be jinxing it, like something's going to happen. I don't want that claims number until I need it.
I would think the opposite. It's kind of like when you bring the umbrella and it never rains, but you leave the umbrella in the car and it's going to pour.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, half glass full. I'm making lemonade out of 2020. Trying to.
Somebody has to. It's an interesting
Absolutely.
year. All right. So, in general, what would you guys tell others about your whole preparation over 6 months, the planning, and, we're in the home stretch now, comparatively speaking.
Well, honestly, it was a little stressful, but not as stressful as it could have been. Because I felt like I had somebody I could call and get tips or advice from. So that was nice. The last few days before putting it on the market was kind of crazy because I was worried that it wouldn't show nice. So I was running around trying to, polish everything and make everything look beautiful.
Ernest was there still painting late.
Yeah, well.
Oh, you painted yourself? That's awesome.
Yes.
We did everything ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Except for the roof.
Well.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. Pull a permit on that one. That's important.
Neither would Leo. I had to throw that in there. Sorry. It was just too cute. So what would you tell others? Like your neighbors are asking questions. What are you saying to them? Did they know how long in advance you were preparing? Like, did they know in January you wanted to sell?
I've been telling them since we moved there that we're moving when my son graduates from high school. So I was pretty open with everybody. But as I said, we're friends with everybody, though. Mm-hmm. So, they were pretty sad to see us leave, but also excited for us. And then yesterday we were over there mowing the lawn because we still want it to look beautiful for the new purchaser. And one of the neighbors came over and said, "So how did you do it?" And I told him, I said, well, I contacted somebody that I felt was, and I hate to use the word aggressive, but I think it's appropriate.
When I'm selling your home, you want me to be aggressive.
Yeah. But I said I chose somebody who was aggressive and that I felt this would be their priority, is to get my house sold. And so he was pretty excited. I don't think he's looking to sell his house yet, but he might.
Yeah, nobody is, and that's okay. It's all about the preparation. That's why I tell people it's never too early to contact and start working on the plan. I don't care if it's a year or two in advance. Start working on it. Do it at your own leisure. I'll be here, God willing, when it's your time to sell.
Speaking of aggressive, so we had 29 offers, we said.
Yeah.
How do you choose the right offer? I mean, I know there's money involved and you don't want to go low, but how are you choosing? Because obviously you know the type of loans they have as well,
in a
right?
situation where we have 29 offers like we did on their home, and we originally had how many when at first? They just kept coming in. We couldn't keep up.
Yes. Well, when first time you texted me, you said 17, and I was like, "You're joking."
Yeah, I'm like, no, I wish I was, because somebody had to manage all those details. Trust me, it's a lot, because you have to start putting it into a multiple offer spreadsheet, because we still have to present all offers, but you don't want to look at 400 pages of contracts, do you?
I would, but I don't think I know what I was
that's
looking at.
stressful for most people. So we just want to give you the short and skinny, and so I will tell you when there's 29 offers and they're pretty much all at or above list, including the cash offers and we have 4 cash offers, we're not even going to look at the financed offers at that point.
Wow.
Why would we? Right?
Right, because then you throw out all the variables with an appraised value and all the other nonsense.
Your biggest contingencies when you're selling a home, like these are your biggest hurdles: your inspection, appraisal, actually getting the loan and closing. Right? Those are your 3 biggest hurdles. And so when you're talking about cash, you've now eliminated 2 of the 3. So we only have 1 hurdle really to overcome. I mean, technically anything can happen, right? But the biggest hurdle you have to overcome is the inspection.
And you guys got a brand new roof, so that's one of the biggest hurdles there.
Well, Katrina said you don't have to replace the roof, but then you'll have an inspection, and we figured
They're going to say replace the roof.
We're just going to replace it now and not have to worry about that.
And it's appealing to a buyer, and there's a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, I will totally buy this home, and
Well, if you didn't have cash offers and then you get to the insurance part, if you have an older roof in St. Pete, you could be looking at a couple $1,000s a year in insurance. I mean,
well, I can tell you if the roof wasn't old and it's new, right? So that's a big thing. But if it was old and it wasn't new, we wouldn't have had 29 offers.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have. Because I can guarantee you probably at least half of those would have not made an offer because of the age of the roof.
Wow.
How old was your other roof?
13 years. But it looked like it was older than that. It wasn't in good shape at all.
Yeah, I didn't remember those details, but I remember looking at the roof going, don't think that's going to pass a 4-point.
Is it probably the 3-tab shingles?
I couldn't tell you. They did it right before we moved in. So when we moved in, it looked nice. It was brand new.
Yeah. Everything looks good, right?
So the funny part is even brand new homes have issues. I mean, Leo, you guys just did a home inspection for a new build.
Well, we
For
find
one
a
of our
lot.
clients.
We're the first people testing outlets. We're the first people turning on faucets. Of course, we're going to find issues. And there's construction debris that goes down the plumbing pipes. I mean, yeah, there's lots of issues with new homes.
So it was funny because my buyer was like, I can't believe how many things we found in a new home. And I go, well, most of those things are going to be on our punch list, when we do the walkthrough. But there's some things, like there was a thing on the roof we may or may not have seen. But I'm pretty good at finding a lot of those details at the walkthrough because there was a broken window even in that home that wasn't on your inspection report. So I don't know if they missed it or it happened after.
The inspection report is only good until he walks out of the door.
Pretty much.
I've heard that one
I
before.
know.
but-
so the window, the blinds come down and they only come up usually a little bit. The crack was like up here.
Little hairline fracture, right?
No, it was a pretty good size
Sounds like an
crack.
installation error. He needs all new windows in the whole house.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I would
Okay.
call Aaron for that one.
Call Aaron.
All right. Final thought, Patty, as we leave.
I'd say if you're going to choose a realtor, I would definitely choose somebody who does it as a profession and not a part-time job. Yeah. Because I honestly felt like you had our best interest at heart, and that this is the job you were doing. Your job was to sell our house.
That's right. For the most money we can get.
Yes.
Which happened to be significantly above our list price. Woohoo! All right, this is Tampa Home Talk. Our off-air number if you want to connect like Patty did with me, even 6-12 months in advance, 813-377-2775. Just call or text 13 and I'll know you're looking for my 13 tips to help your home sell like a model, or connect with me.
Do I text the number or the word?
813-377-2775. Just text us. Have a great weekend. Love where you live or I'll fix it.
Love where